Good deal. And we're back. Welcome, everybody, to the Mindful Mentality Podcast. As y'all can see, I got a new little setup. But before we dive in, we got a brand new guest for y'all, which we're going to play y'all the intro real quick. All right. See, now I know y'all gonna roast me in the comments about the little intro. Still, chill, man. We working on the intro, but it's better than what it was before, as some of y'all know from season one. So, again, welcome back to the Mindful Mentality Podcast. Of course, I'm your co-host, Mr. Caleb Rosenberg, and as y'all know, for the last couple of weeks, we ain't been joined by the two co-hosts, Mr. Daniel Uribe and Mr. William Campbell. They got other stuff going on, man. Just relax. Like I said, Daniel was out the country. He needed a little time, so just give them some time. They're gonna come back. Don't worry. But we do have another guest today. But before we do that, as y'all know, Mindful Mentality Podcast is built to transform minds, to break generational patterns, and to really change the way that people think, give some new perspectives, and really just dive in, just give some tips and tricks on how we can all not only enhance our lives, but enhance those around us as well. So with that being said, we have another guest. Now this one's real special because as y'all know, I just moved to Texas. I ain't make no friends. Y'all know me. I don't make friends. So we got a very special guest, someone that we both just met. Her name is Summer. Summer, welcome to the Mindful Mentality Podcast. If you could just let people know a little bit about kind of who you are, what you got going on, and kind of what business you're in, all that good stuff.
Cool. So I'm Summer Broussard. I'm actually originally from Beaumont, Texas, but I've lived in Houston for the past 4 years now. Just graduated from University of Houston in December. While I was in school, I started my own business in the financial service industry through a company called Family First Life. Actually was like driving to go get a cat. I have 2 cats, and I was on my way to Dallas, and I've listened to a podcast with Brad Lee. He's one of my favorite real estate entrepreneurs, and he had special guest CEO of the company I currently work for, Sean Mike. And I was just listening in, taking it in, and I was like, this sounds like something I could do. But when you listen to the way you can succeed so fast in the financial service industry, it kind of just all sounds fake. Yeah. And I was kind of just like, I mean, what do I have to lose? I'm in college. I'm babysitting right now. Like, I'm not really bringing in, crazy money or anything. But I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So took the leap of faith. And here I am today. 1 year later, last week was my first year. So.
Okay. And she forgot to mention that she's killing it, by the way. So just for y'all know, this isn't some insurance agent, nothing like that. Nah, she's doing the thing, man. She's doing her thing. She's really killing it out there. That's why we got her on the show. So I do want to kind of back up a little bit here. So I know you mentioned Bradley. We're very keen to those guys, Bradley, Grant Cardone, and all those cats. We love those guys, Brad Sumrock, all of them. So at least for me, when I first saw, because my thing was Grant Cardone, he's the one who really kind of got me into the business world and really more so opened my mind to, because I come from a single mom household, as the listeners know. So for me, it's like you don't really see a whole lot. You don't really see kind of the other side of life. You see kind of like working 9 to 5, working all the time, that kind of really the same shit over and over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was it from Brad Lee that really made you kind of want to, because some people will see that same message that you saw and they'd be like, nah, this isn't for me. All the rich are XYZ, that kind of stuff. So what made you be like, not only this is something that I can do, but this is something that can get me, like, did you have a vision in mind? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, I mean, so when I babysat for the past 4 years, I hustled the shit out of it. Like, I would have 6 kids in my freaking car. I would pick these kids up, drop these kids off, go pick up these other kids, drop them off. I was literally hustling the babysitting life. And I always knew that I wanted to get into real estate. So I did internships throughout college, right? So my freshman year, I did a marketing internship. My sophomore year, I worked for Amazon, went to Florida. And this current year, I had an internship lined up for my dream company, which was Nike, and turned it down to do what I do now. And the reason being was because doing those jobs, I never knew, I always hated it. I always hated being controlled by somebody else. Someone being in control of my schedule, someone talking to me however they feel. And especially being a woman in the business industry isn't always easy. So when I did listen to that podcast, when I've always taken in like podcasts from Bradley and people like that, I always knew that, when you listen to it, that's you. And I think a lot of people might like the 9 to 5 job, but I always knew that was never for me. And my parents, one of those things where like when you turn 18, when you go off to college, like you're on your own. So I always liked having a nice life, liked having nice things. So I knew that I had to grind and get shit done to get where I'm at. So I think just overall, like you said, like my mindset was always, since I was a young 18-year-old, 17-year-old, being a hostess to then babysitting, like I always knew that I was going to find a way. And my ultimate dream was to become an entrepreneur, but I thought that I was going to have to go down that corporate route for like 5 to 6 years before I could even become that and save up money to then invest that money in the real estate. So having an out like this, it's everything I dreamed of. And it kind of just all ended up in my lap by the grace of God. So
I hear that. And what I want to really touch on too is, it wasn't all, as you probably well know, is this game, as we kind of talked a little bit about entrepreneurship, owning a business. It wasn't all like peaches and gravy. And I know the listeners are probably like, oh my God, here he goes again, talking about it ain't all sweet. But I'm just trying to give y'all a perspective. So I want, Summer, if you could just tell people, like, it wasn't all sweet from day one, like, oh, week one, I'm making thousands of dollars, life is good, and I saw you got a new whip. So like, it wasn't all like that at first. So can you kind of touch on, like, in the beginning, what was that, like, that mindset that you had to have, where it's like, obviously you probably getting, whether it's turned down or you just hearing no, 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 or whatever, shit not working out. So what was that mindset? What was that time like for you?
Yeah. So when you first start, kind of give a little quick, structure of how this business goes. Okay. So you have leads. We purchase leads, and then from there we call people on Mondays. We book appointments for Tuesday, Wednesday. We call for Thursday. We book appointments for Friday, Saturday. That is like the structure that we lay out for people to come in here and do. Whether you choose to do that or not, that's completely up to you. It is your own business, but that is what gets people successful here. So I kind of just copied people's structure who succeeded here. I knew that if I took what they did, if they can make $600,000 a year, why can I not? So my mindset coming in was just, what do I need to do to become the best? And I implemented everything from the beginning to become, where I'm at today. And I'm not even close to the best, but I'm getting there every single day to try to, get where I want to get. So I would say from the beginning, yeah, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. You work a lot more, and you just becomes a norm. When you do become an entrepreneur. But when I first started, yeah, I would book appointments. I would leave my house at 5 a.m. to be at an appointment at 6 a.m. I would not walk through my door probably till like 10, 11 at night for months. For months. And I mean, it's one of those things when you first start, you're so in it. You want to be the best, you want to succeed, or at least I did. And then, you burn out. And that is the advice I try to teach people now is, how can we structure it from the beginning for you to not get where I got after that 6-7 months? It's not always pretty. And I did have a very strong mentality my whole life. I feel like I never really dealt with any depression or anything like that. And I'm not sitting here saying I have depression, but I got low for a second there. I was like, damn, this shit sucks. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's not easy at first. It's not, but it's so worth it now that I look back, and I've learned so much. I'm such a different person within the last year of my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And to your point about burnout, I mean, I've briefly just recently touched on it because that wasn't a part of my journey that I was willing to share with people. But I feel like there's really not a lot of folks who are sharing that side of things. Like, all you see on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you see people making $1 million. You see the new cars, the Lambos, the cash, the vacations, whatever. But you're not seeing all that led up to that, all the failures, all the late nights, as people know on this pod, there was a good point in time where I was working 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I wouldn't go to sleep until 2. I wake up at 4, 5 in the morning, get right back to it. And to your point, not everyone like it's cool to say that to some folks like on Instagram. It's like, oh, I'm always working, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yo, it's really not like once you do that for a certain amount of time, you're gonna burn out. And to your point, I had something very similar where it was like one day lost all motivation, lost really, and I'm a very motivated person. I'm a very positive person. So for me to lose motivation, like it was a lot of because I probably was at that for like a year and a half, just going at it. And then to your point, you crash. And when you crash, you crash the fuck out. I
No,
ain't gonna
bad.
lie. Man. So to
You
that,
just
I mean,
waking up, sitting in the shower, like crying, like
oh,
why the fuck I'm crying.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Laying in bed, like just staring at the ceiling, where I'm just like, man, I don't really don't want to do anything. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to do, I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to do nothing with money. I don't want to see business, nothing like that. And that's a very dark place to be in, especially when you by yourself. Like as you probably know, when you're doing business by yourself, great. Thankfully, I have two partners, but
Mhm.
still, when you in your house, when you in your room, whatever, it shit gets really lonely out here when you on the grind. So
For
I
sure.
do like that you touched on that, which kind of leads me into kind of I got this little thing that I wrote down the other day, um, kind of like you have to see it to believe it, and this goes back to like vision, right? So you got to see it to believe it. You go where your vision is. Essentially, you're the captain of your ship. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, all that kind of stuff. So when you hear something like that, where it's you have to see it to believe it. Was there ever a point in your journey where you were chasing something? Like when you got started, were you chasing? I know you mentioned real estate, trying to get to be successful. Was that consistently? Was there a certain picture in your mind as you were going along your journey?
Yeah. I think I always had a vision for like owning real estate, having flipping properties, like having apartments was my original like ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And then obviously like you have dreams of owning just like fun things. So like I want to like retire by the time I'm like 35, 40 and just I'll still work. I'll always probably work. I just enjoy
Yeah.
it. But having stuff that you truly can love and you have the money to just put down to like open up your own like boutique, whatever you want to do as a girl. Um, so yeah, I mean, I always had a vision, and I always like to make like vision boards too, and see where I'm going each year. Like to see where I became was literally last year in February to now.
Mm,
Hmm,
that's big.
It's
That's
emotional.
big. And
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people to that real quick. I want to stay on that. A lot of people are so caught up in their everyday lives or the everyday grind, whether it's a 9 to 5 or you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever you're in school, you're so caught up in just the routine of things. You're not taking account for where you've come from, essentially. Like that's something my mentor had to sit me down and tell me. We had a long conversation one day. I remember it vividly. He was like, what I want you to do is each week I want you to reflect. Just take one day out of the week, take maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just reflect on how far you've come. Because after a certain point, it starts to feel like shit's not clicking or it's not clicking as fast as you want it, or you feel like you're not doing nothing. And then to your point, you look back and you're like, holy shit, dude, a year ago today, like, who is that?
It's
And
crazy.
who is this? You know what I mean? So I think that's super powerful for people to do. Like, again, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're a 9 to 5 business owner, you're a mom, you're a father, brother, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, just take account for what has gone on in your life and whether it's positive or negative, because a lot of folks, especially when you're going through a down period, it can kind of get really dark for a long time and you don't see the light. And then when you
yeah,
do see the light, you're not essentially taking an evaluation of what just happened and that you made it through. Like that's a big thing. You go through something tough, when you make it through, like not necessarily reward yourself, like, oh, let me go spend money on a new truck or something like that, but more so like give yourself a pat on the back and tell yourself, like, holy shit, dude, I just did that. Like I just pushed through that. I just made it through that. So I like that you brought that up. Um,
yeah. And usually like downfalls like that, like you come out better because it just teaches you so much every day, bro. Like
yeah, that's
you
facts.
you
I mean,
be in your own thoughts.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I mean, a lot of people and I just made a video on this not too long ago about kind of the stuff that we've been through in business, like the whole business credit scam. Like there was probably in a matter of less than 30 days, we had lost over 30 grand. And so most people would look at that situation and be like, I'm never going back into business. That's it. I tried it. It's over with. My life is shit. But it's like, what can you learn from that situation? Now, I'll be honest, that's a tough lesson or a tough thought to have in the moment. But a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, shit, a few months later, and I'm sitting here telling y'all this, like, what can you learn from each situation? Who can you avoid dealing with? What things can you avoid saying, avoid doing, avoid going into? What are some red flags, essentially? Like, mark these things down and try to really prevent yourself from getting into another situation. Because the problem is not, I want to really, really make this clear. The problem is not that you took a chance. The problem is it just wasn't either the right time or the right thing. Like, have you ever taken a chance and it just, I mean, shit, even what you're doing now, like when shit's not working, it's not the fact that you're doing the wrong thing. I mean, it could be like marketing wise, stuff like that.
Right.
Or maybe it's just not your time,
Right. I
So
agree.
that's a tough lesson for people to learn. Like, if they continuously try, and like, I know we were in wholesale and real estate for a while, right? Consistently marketing, putting shit under contract, shit's falling through the cracks.
That's the grind.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wholesale real estate is tough. And so, we had gone months and months and months marketing, putting shit under contract, buyers falling through, right? But to think, like, if one of those buyers would have came through, and this is something I've kind of told you on the pod before, like, you have to understand that everybody has their time. And now might not be your time. Yesterday might not be your time. Next week might not be your time. But there will be a time when God gonna call your number and he gonna be like, all right, step up to the plate. You've been talking all this, you've been doing all this work. Are you gonna show out, essentially?
For sure.
So it's like two parts of the equation. Like, one, it's not your time, but when it is your time, you better suit the fuck up and get ready to go.
That's how I look at it. Yep. When it comes, take every advantage. Like, my best friend, we became best friends in this business. And last year I was sitting at convention. I hadn't even got my contracting yet. I just take the test, passed the test, got my insurance license. And I was sitting in that crowd at the Marlin Stadium. And I just remember looking like, I want to be up there next year. And I like manifested that, like, literally a year later. And my friend Kiefer, she's like the top female in our whole entire company, bro. Like, she's crazy. And she got asked to talk up on the stage by herself. And I remember her calling me. She's like, Summer, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like, do you know who is at this convention, Kiefer? Like, you have Sharks back there. You have Brad Lee back there. You have everyone back there. Like, this is your moment. Like, I will slap you if you don't go back there and do it. Like, what do you mean you're not going to do it? Like, so I think, to your point, yeah, when you get that platform and you get that moment, you better fucking take it.
Yeah, and you better kill it, because you've been putting in. And if you think about it, I always like to kind of take a different perspective on things, or play devil's advocate, whatever the case might be, right? Flip shit around. So thinking about it like that, if you don't go out there or go up to that stage and you don't kill it, or you don't put yourself out there, that's almost disrespecting everything that you've built to this point. Like, everything you've worked for and sacrificed.
Of you not doing it than you doing it.
Right. You just put in all this work for maybe 2, 5, shit. Some people put in a decade. And now when God's going to call your number, now you're going to be like, I don't know.
For 10 minutes. That's all you got to do. 10 minutes talk. And you prepared yourself for this long to have that moment. So you better take it.
Exactly. And it could be 10 minutes. It could be an hour. Shit, if somebody give you 30 seconds, and nowadays, the way social media work, somebody give you, it's about that sliver of opportunity to put yourself to that next level, to really get to where you're trying to go and open up doors that you might not have thought were ever possible,
That's good. Yep.
It's, I don't know. When I think, and this is kind of like a segue, I guess, or a little, I guess, random ass point, but this is why we started the podcast. As y'all know, some of our loyal listeners for over the last couple of years, like, a lot of things can change when you change your perspective and you change your mindset, because a lot of people just ain't looking at shit the right way. That's what it boiled down to. Like, for me, I mean, when you go through shit, if we go through personal shit, you go through business shit, you go through financial stuff, relationship stuff, whatever. I mean, the one thing you shouldn't do in this kind of a side note, like don't ever think that people don't go through things. Like to all y'all out there who think, oh, this person's got it great. Oh, this person must be living. Yo, it's never that sweet. Everybody goes through something. They just might have a different perspective than you, and they're not letting that prevent them from accomplishing what they're trying to get to, or going to talk to XYZ person, going to take XYZ opportunity, because you sitting there over there talking about, oh, I can't do this because this and that. But this person's like, oh, because like for me, like me and somebody else, right? We're gonna see Grant Cardone doing a, let's just say $150 million deal, right? Oh, I can't. Other person's like, oh, I can't do that because 150. That's unrealistic. Blah blah blah. You over here being negative, Nelly. I'm over here already plotting on how I'm gonna do that deal. That's a different mindset. It's not that I'm
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? It's not
Mm.
XYZ person is better. I'm not better than anybody. I think I'm one of the most regular human beings on this planet. But my mindset and the resourcefulness. That's all that you need in life is just the right mindset, the right information, and just the ability to be resourceful, and you're gonna make shit shake, you know?
Right. Like, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice to get there?
You know? And I think Will Smith said something kind of similar to that. He said, if you and me get on the treadmill, you know, I'll die on that treadmill before I let you win. And for me, like we could have the same skill set, we can have the same drive, whatever. But I promise you, I'll probably sacrifice more ethically, of course, you know, but I'll probably sacrifice more than the average human being to get what I want. Like, just because of how much, and again, it comes back from, you know, my childhood, stuff like that, just, you know, not having money, all that good stuff, whatever. But at the end of the day, to what Summer just told y'all, how much are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? Because a lot of people are out here just talking that fluff. Oh, I want to have $1 million. Oh, I want to do this, or I want to go on luxury vacations. It's like, cool. What you about to give up for it though? Because this life ain't for everybody. Not everybody can be rich. I'm sorry. Y'all know I keep it real. Not everybody can be rich. It sucks, but that's the way that the world go around. But it's not to say that just because everybody can't be rich, it don't mean that you can't be rich. You know, you got to just put in the work and sacrifice, because you can't. Y'all know my favorite quote: "You can't get different results doing the same shit. It
Yep.
don't work like that. You got to switch something up."
Yep. And I'm a
So,
big believer in like the people around you is so big. Oh, that's a big one.
so tell me. So let's stay on that for a second. What made you come to that realization?
I mean, I'm young. When I started here, I was 21 years old. Everyone in my circle now is pretty much, you know, a little bit older, like 25, 26, 27. And I always kind of hung around older people, even in high school and things like that, because I always feel like I always did have that mindset that you're talking about. But yeah, finding people that even have the same interest in you. Like if I'm out here trying to, you know, get to this level and you're down here, we might have to, you know, part ways. And that's not even saying that like we can't talk, like, and I don't fuck with you,
Oh yeah.
but it's like we aren't on the same level. We aren't on the same path. Your vision isn't my vision. So what, who do I need to surround myself with to where we're getting here together? Like me and Kiefer, like that's all we talk. What, like we looking at deals like day in and day out. We're
Yeah.
on the Zoom, like we're recruiting people, like we're always on the same level.
Yeah.
So if you're not, you know, surrounding yourself with people like that, then maybe you should do a little bit of self-reflecting and reposition from there.
Hell yeah, a little self audit. And that's crazy you say that, because Daniel talks about that. That's one of my partners. He talks about that on this pod all the time. As y'all listeners who have heard us over the years know, Daniel talks about protecting your energy at all costs, no matter what. And it might suck, because to what Summer just said, y'all know I've cut off some of the closest people in my entire life, some of my the most best friends I've ever had, some even family members, not necessarily cut off, but spaced out from. Because like Summer said, you don't have to necessarily just cut people cut and dry. Some, yes, but others, you just got to space yourself out, because it's that energy around you. It's that mindset around you. The shit be leaking. Like it comes into your brain, and now you're over here wondering why you're second guessing things. I actually just had that happen recently, where I was just hanging around. I wouldn't say hanging around, but I was just conversing with some people that didn't have the same, mindset to me. And this is no disrespect to anybody out there, but to them, 100 grand a year was great money. And to me, that's like this a bad time right now.
That's real.
Like,
That's real.
it's not even like, and I'm not saying to discount like 100 grand a year for the just average American. That's decent money. But wait, for me and my goals and where I'm trying to go, 100 grand a year ain't anywhere close to what's gonna cut it. You know what I mean? Like when your vision's so big, you trying to you got people to take care of, you got friends to take care of, you got family members, you got like that's the way I see it. Like it's 100 grand a year, because I don't want to sound like I'm arrogant. Y'all know I don't really be on that type of stuff, but it's not even the fact that 100 grand a year ain't good enough for me. It's not good enough for the people I'm trying to take care of, for the things I'm trying to do, the things I'm
That's
trying to
real.
create. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of them things. It's crazy you said that. Like the people around you really be dictating a lot of shit for you.
Yeah. And like if you're on the same level, like we're all about to succeed together. That's the ultimate goal. You got a house here, I got a house there. You got a key, I got a key.
You know what I'm saying? Some slick stuff, Like it's just one of them things. And again, it's not that you can't, like, you can never talk to anybody who just, for example, you an entrepreneur. It's like it's not that you can't talk to people who work a 9 to 5. We're not saying that at all to y'all.
No.
What we're saying is the people you spend the majority of your time with, the people who you converse the most with, you bounce ideas off of. Because that's another thing. When you try to bounce ideas off of somebody who is not even thinking or can't comprehend the same information that you're on, they're going to give you recommendations that aren't the most beneficial.
Right. And they're going to slow down your everyday life. I've recently dealt with that. Like I've, start surrounding myself with some friends that just come into my life. I have a lot of friends. I'm a pretty friendly person. I like to hang out with people. But yeah, when you start surrounding yourself with people like that, they got a lot more time on their hands. So then they asking you to do stuff. You're like, oh, I'll take this cut. I'll go do that. That's a big one too.
That's dangerous because it gets you off. And that happened. That's actually happened to me in my journey, because I've been at this for about 3 years now. So that's happened to me a couple times before. I'm like, all right, enough is enough, bro. Like, I ain't going no more. Like, now people know me. Like my friends always joke. Some of my closest friends, because I only keep the ones, like, I got a very, very small circle, but they know how I operate, what I'm doing. They know, like, we might not be on the same like path. Like all my closest friends, besides my business partners, I say about two of them. Those are the only two who are trying to like really, really do what I'm trying to do. But the rest of them are like, yo, okay, we know that you're doing this for us. Like, do your thing. We're gonna be here whenever, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna come visit, or you come visit whenever you can. But the thing is, they understand. So when I go a week without talking to them, when I go 2 weeks without talking to them, I go 6 months, a year without seeing them, they're not even tripping about that.
Right.
You
They
know what I
understand.
mean?
Yeah, they understand what path you're on.
Exactly. They see the vision. So you can keep people around as long as they got good positive energy and they're consistently pouring into you, because my people pour into me, vice versa. I pour into them. So it's not that they might not be able to understand, but damn, I'll tell you what, even one of my closest homies today, he's just a manual labor type of guy. And he just cool, trying to have a family, just some real easy stuff. But he's like, man, I always know, and I'm gonna tell you this again. And he just told me this morning. He's like, if there's anybody that I had to bet on to be a multimillionaire, it's always you, like 100%. I know it without a doubt. I wouldn't even have to, think about it twice. And to me, that can also help lift you up. But at the same time, I would never cut that relationship off because we pour into each other.
Right.
But to what Summer said, people will drag you down. That's why I had to cut off one of my best friends from like even early high school. So we talking about multiple years. And dude was just, it was a lot of negative energy. Like when you pitch an idea, they're like, nah, or something,
Yeah.
like even little subtle stuff, which you probably noticed too, like little subtle things too, be like, like, the fuck was that? You know what I'm saying? Like just some weird type of feeling now that's in the air in the room. And now you starting to question, like, is my vision too big? Am I
Right.
dreaming too much?
And then even your family, like My mom, like I have my dad's type of mindset. My dad owns multiple businesses. My parents are
Mm.
divorced. My mom's a nurse. My stepdad's a nurse. But like, I can't talk to me and my mom are best friends. Like, love the woman to death, but I cannot tell her anything about ideas I have and her understand my vision.
And it be like that sometimes. They
Yep.
really do be like that because even to this day, like my mom is like very supportive, but at the same time, she'll be like, "Oh well, have you looked at any jobs or have you put in any?" at that, yo. And to her point,
You got
I've
to
been
pay
through it.
taxes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
it's one of them things. So,
mm,
but to your point, sometimes you just got to be like okay with that situation and move accordingly. I'm a big advocate for like kind of being a chameleon to different situations, different personalities, that kind of thing. But at the same time, adjusting to your current situation. Like, not everybody made to either be a part of your vision or hear about it in the first place.
right.
And that's just the stone cold truth. Like, you don't have to be going to, as long as you are confident in yourself and your abilities, tell a couple people who are on the same track and you straight. You don't have to tell everybody. Not everybody has to believe in you in order for something to happen. Like I've seen folks who nobody believed in them, and damn, they done pulled off some shit.
For
You know,
sure.
it's
And
it.
then now everybody want to jump on the train, huh?
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's. I like that you brought that point up because people are very big. You can have the best mindset in the world, but you start messing around with the wrong people, and man, it's like it almost all goes out the window. You
For sure.
know.
Yep.
So I know you mentioned that you've had kind of this mindset for quite some time throughout your life. Has there ever been a situation where I know we talked about kind of doing like a self audit or self reflection? Have you ever had to kind of come to terms with that? That might be a stupid question because I think we both know the answer. But what was the time that you had to really take a self audit and like kind of reevaluate or hit the reset button?
Yeah, I think it was when I came into the corporate life when I was at Amazon.
Hmm.
Um, when you're in college, when you're in business school at a big college, everyone around you is always preaching like you should go work at Apple and you should go work, and I always thought that was going to be me. I always thought I was going
Right.
to climb the corporate ladder. I mean, I always kind of had this vision I would make it to the top, but I never really knew how I was going to get to where I wanted to ultimately get in my mindset. So I think just honestly, the grace of God. Like, I think believing in Him and knowing that at the end of the day, everything happened for a reason. Um, that's literally all I can say, like, in this point in my life, because I don't even know how everything happened the way it did. I sit back and I think about it and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand how I got offered this opportunity, how I found the friends I have now. But the last year of my life has been the best thing that's ever happened to me,
Mm.
even through all the hardships. Um,
Mm.
everything. Yeah, it gets me like emotional when I actually dig deep into it. It's kind of crazy. Mm.
Rightfully so. And I like how you said even with all this, all the bad shit, quote unquote bad, because we know it's always lessons, but even with the bad, you still sitting back like, damn, shit was the best 12 months I'd have never had.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think I ask my big thing too. I was going to say this like success. I had someone ask me, like, how do you define success? And it like really took me back. I'm like, what do you mean success? Like to have a lot of money. And it's like, that's not success in everyone's eyes. Like each person should have their own definition of success. And I asked my friend that the other day, I'm like, what is your definition of success? And she paused. Like she's like, I've honestly never thought of it.
wow.
And I honestly never thought of it. I always just thought like to have a big house and to have a nice car and have, support my family.
Yeah.
But like sitting back now, it's like my definition of success is literally being able to have so much that I can give to everyone I've always wanted to give to and still have enough to support my family and everything around me. Like
Yeah.
the fact that I can just bring my mom to dinner, bring like put like give, it's just that's like the biggest blessing. is
Oh
when
yeah.
you have money and you're able to just do stuff that you never thought you could do before for others. That's when you know you've like, you know, reached your ultimate goal. And even if this isn't my end goal, it's still a goal right now that I'm truly blessed to have. So
Yeah, it's part of the it's just one milestone in the process, you know? And something that I've touched on briefly on the pod before. I don't know. Have you ever heard of like the why exercise?
yeah.
Yeah. So when I
That's a
did
big one
that,
too, like your why. Yeah.
yeah, and I did that before. And the first time I ever did that exercise, I probably went through like 7 times or so of asking myself why. By the end of it, I was breaking down in tears. And I'm not really an emotional guy. So like already off top, to me, that was like, wow, because why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to figure out like, okay, I'm a very driven person, very, motivated. I like money, to your point. Nice house, nice car, want all this kind of stuff. But I'm like, why do I even want this, bro? Like, I just be working and like, I don't know why. I just have no like no limit. I just keep going. I don't know until I ask myself all them why questions. I'm like, man, it's so much deeper. And so even with success, like when it comes to what's your meaning of success, I like how you brought that up because a lot of people out here just think that once they get to XYZ, once I get the car, once I get the house, once I get 100 grand in the bank, it's like you're not chasing that. There's something. Why do you want the nice car? Because you didn't have a nice, your family never had some nice to drive that worked, or why do you want a nice house? Were you ever homeless? Like there's something behind every reason of why you want something or why you want to do something. And it may sound kind of like corny as shit, but like I don't know. I'm a person who thinks a lot of things are deeper than what we think, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like once I got everything I've always dreamed to have, once I got the nice car, once I, made, I don't know, however much, like over 6 figures last year or whatever. It's like that is not everything. And I always thought it was. I always thought money was everything until you have it. And then you realize more money, more problems. You realize everything, like once you get money, it's everything's not about money.
Yeah.
I think that's my point of this is it's about at the end of the day me being able to still like even when I'm down, if something goes wrong, I still got it.
Hmm.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Yeah, that's facts. And a lot of people have that same thing. I mean, I've had that same feeling like you think that once you hit a certain mark, you get a certain amount of money, whatever it is to certain people, whether it's savings or income or, buying whatever, you always think that, okay, that's when I'm going to feel like, because my friend, he has asked me a couple times too. He's like, Caleb, when do you think that you're ever going to feel like you made it? And I'm like, after going through what I've gone through and the short, I'll say little success that I've had, like, I don't know if that feeling's ever gonna come, to be honest. Like, because you're always chasing something. Like you hit something, but now the bar just got raised. Or, I've always thought to myself, like, man, once I'm in position, I can, drop 10 grand on the course and have no blink of an eye. Did that. But I was still chasing more. Okay, now I need to let me get into a mastermind where you got to pay 50 grand a year. But it's like all that stuff to your point, like you start doing these things and it really don't matter. Like it's fulfilling. I'm not gonna lie, like it's a little fulfilling because you're hitting something on your like goal list or whatever on your vision board, to your point. But at the end of the day, like, what are you doing this for? Money is a tool. And a lot of people forget that. They get lost in the sauce. I've gotten lost. Trust me. I've done got lost in money many times. But what Summer has said, it's about experience, man. Like, what can you do for you and your people? Like, I've always dreamed, I don't want to, have, let's just say, $1 million in the bank. I could give a shit if $1 million was in my bank if private jets were cheaper, but private jets ain't cheap. It's like 4,000 a flight hour. So you got to have money for that. But I'm chasing the experience where I call my friends up and I'm like, hey, where you at? Okay, I'm gonna pick you up. You're gonna go to, Puerto Rico, Bora Bora, wherever, and don't worry about it. I got the flight taken care of. Pull up on the PJ. Stupid stuff like that. But it's not even about like a status symbol. It's the experience because I've never, when I was a kid, like I said, we didn't have, like I had a good life. Don't get me wrong. I was able to be in sports, but single mom, working 1, 2 jobs at a time just so I could be in sports, like it put a certain uh dim on your light essentially, you know? So now you just want to like the kid in me is like, I want to do it just because I want to do it and just
Right.
say that like I did it, you know?
Mm.
It
Yeah.
ain't even about the money. It's like I'm gonna say it. I just want to say it. Like, you know, I got what do they call that? Like, fuck you money. You know,
Yeah.
I just want to be able to say that just because.
And
But
it's
again,
always something too. Like there's
yes,
always something going on that you have to pay for some. Like, I don't even understand why. Like, it's always something. Like, I
yeah,
can literally just be like, shit's going good. I'm gonna walk out my house, the door handle gonna break. I'm gonna walk down to my car, the tire gonna be popped. Like,
yeah,
it's always something.
yeah.
So, yeah, bro. I
It's
don't
one
even.
of them things where money, what I've noticed at least, is money take care of a lot of stress that's unneeded in life because life is already stressful enough. You know, so when you can operate and you're not thinking like that moment where I could start making, I remember vividly when I just started making some money and I was like, I'm not making decisions based off of money. I'm not worried about money. Life, it was almost like a 180 flip, like light to dark side or dark to light, whatever you want to think of it as. It's like, holy shit, this is what that feels like. I'm like, now you will start to understand why. That's why I hate when people say money doesn't equal happiness. I'm like, nah, but it's a pretty good runner
Right.
up,
Yeah, it's a. Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So
And I sit with my job. Like, I literally sit down with people who have no money. Like, that just sitting there and like seeing that and just like people will literally sit in front of me and just cry. Like, you don't understand like how bad I want this, like I need this. Like, my family can't afford this funeral, but like they can't fund $30 a month
yeah,
to help their kid not have to fork out thousands of dollars, and they're standing in front of Walmart with a bucket to pay for their funeral.
yeah,
That shit real. Mhm.
yeah. GoFundMe's and that's real shit.
Mhm.
And it sucks that life is such a, as they would call, like a capitalist type of world or society, but it's like either get with it or don't. You know what I mean? Like as shitty as that sounds, again, listeners on here know that we keep it super real, and we're just trying to what's the word? I can't even think of it, but we're trying to give people the tips and just the perspective of life doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's kind of the main message of like, you know, we're both young individuals and we're over here talking about life don't have to be like that. And I think that's something that's preached since we were kids in middle school and high school and college. Life got to be this way. You got to do it X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. This is what happened. This is when you retire. This is what you'll get when you retire. And it's like, not saying everybody has to go business owner route or anything like that. There's many different ways to make money, different ways of making passive income. So just think to yourself, does life have to be this way? Because I'm not trying to change nobody's perspective. That's not what the pod is about. We're just here to kind of like essentially give you that thought process. Like I want to be that voice in the back of your head, like, but does it have to be that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, if you ask someone if you could do anything you wanted to do and you quit your job today, you could go do anything you wanted to do, and I'd hand you the money to go do it. Would you do it? Like,
Mm,
everybody would say yes, but are you willing to do it?
mm. That's huge.
Like,
Are you willing
everybody,
to
I'm
do it?
sure 100% of people would say yes, and they would have this vision in their mind of what they've always had. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
are you gonna go out and actually, make it happen? And there's
yeah.
so many platforms out there, and I'm learning that day in and day out. Like, I think so many people, they get so caught up, and especially like our generation, it's just
Oh
like school, 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 and like we teach you like school is. I
yeah.
graduated because I had one, a year semester left, and I didn't have this opportunity. But if I would have had the opportunity I have right now 4 years ago, trust me, I would not have went to college.
Yeah, rightfully so, and that's why I took 2 semesters at 2 different schools, and that's kind of right around the time where I started to hear a little bit about Grant Cardone, and that's what poisoned my mind. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, this is cool because I actually, funny enough, I had a very similar vision for my life. If you would have asked me all the way up until I think it was even after I graduated high school, like maybe what at least for 2 years up to about a year after I graduated high school, so about 2018. If you would have asked me what I was going to be doing with my life, I'm going to college. I'm getting a marketing degree. I might even go for the master's. I'm going to work as, I don't even remember what it was, but it was some, I had this specific position planned out. I was like, this is the type of company I'm going to work for. I mean, from ninth grade, I had that shit dialed out. Like, this is my vision. This is my plan. And then I realized what you were saying earlier was this thought came into my head. Like, the only way, I remember working for a logistics company. I'm like, the only way I'm gonna get to where, because I was looking at my boss and I'm like, I going into his office asking him, how do I get to where you're at? Like, what do I got to do to get to where? I mean, this dude probably thinking I'm a 28, 19-year-old kid at the time. He's
Yeah.
probably like, dude, this dude absolutely nuts. I'm walking in his office every day asking him, what more I got to do? Okay, I finished this. Okay, what do I got to do? How can I, climb there? And they're like, slow down, slow down. And then I realized, damn, the only way I'm gonna get to where he's at is if somebody dies, gets fired, or retires. I'm like, whoa, that's a long time to wait to get some money.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And after that, that's where I dropped out of school. I quit that job. And then I just started figuring it out at that point. I started
And I
learning.
guarantee you too, not to cut you off,
Oh,
but
go
I
ahead.
guarantee you those people who you like express that to, whatever, like they don't believe in you.
Oh, no.
They don't give a fuck
No.
about you.
No. That's and that's actually funny that you brought that up because I actually had well, and I can't believe I'm about to say this on the podcast, but fucking so what a lot of y'all don't know on the pod is that Mr. Caleb Rosenberg was for a brief time in the military, didn't ship out though, and this is why because I was about to ship out, had some stuff going on paperwork wise before I was about to ship out. It's probably like a month before I was supposed to ship out. I actually went to my recruiter and I said, "Nah, I'm done. I'm out." Right. Long story short, she brought me into her office talking about you're going to be nothing. You're not going to amount to anything in life. You're going to fail without the military. Blah blah blah. I mean, ripped on me for like a half hour about how I was about to be a no level, no life type of dude. So it's crazy you said that because I had people say it to my face, and so after that, it put this just absolute fire. And that's probably where some of my grind comes from is like, I hear that voice in the back of my head. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it ain't shit until that Porsche pull up in your parking lot, huh? Yeah, huh? Okay. So, but all jokes aside, like, there's a lot of people on your journey, whether you're trying to do, business ownership, entrepreneurship, you're trying to be an activist or whatever. Don't expect everybody, if your way to success is for people to rely on you and for people to believe in you, don't even try. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh, for sure.
Because people only see what they're accustomed to. Like, how can you believe in something that you ain't even seen before? So to us, like, I mean, in my personal opinion, people like us are absolutely insane to be able to see something, never seen it before in real life, never seen it work before. Because I'm the type of guy, I don't care if I don't need to see shit. I don't need to show me some numbers. Okay, somebody else did it. All right, bet we're rolling. Then that's it. Like, no questions asked. But that's almost impossible for most people to do, to be able to just hear something or see something and take a leap. So you got to be able to understand that, as because I think a lot of us put pressure on the people around us too, to where it's like, oh, you can't get with it, man. F you, I'm done with you, blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And I think too, my favorite quote ever is literally from Michael Jordan. And he literally talks about how he missed like over 9,000 shots. He was trusted to literally shoot 27 game winning shots and he missed. And like till this day, like nobody ever looks back at that. Like nobody ever goes, Michael Jordan missed 9,000 something shots. Michael Jordan was trusted to make 27 winning shots and miss. No, like he literally kept failing over and over again to get where he's at today and to have the, obviously he's the greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion. But
hey, go ahead. I ain't going to wait you on that one. Hold
on. But yeah, I think it's just, that is what I look at all the time. It's like, I'm 21 years old, or I was 21 years old at the time when I started here. Now I'm 22. And how far I've come and like the little amount of failures I've had and how many I'm going to have, but to get where I want to get, it's like bound to happen, but it's like nobody's ever going to look at that. Nobody's ever going to look at the person I was at 21 years old when I'm 30 years old, and I'm, if I'm retired or whatever I am at the time, I don't see the future, but
no, hey, facts. But that's actually a fantastic point. I'm so glad that you touched on that because, like, you're gonna have, if you have a big vision and you're not planning to fail, then your vision ain't big enough, or it's not gonna work out. Simply put, like, you have to expect that the entire journey is going to be met with failure. That's how you figure out how to win. That's the only way. And then secondly, like, to what Summer just told y'all, people are not going to care. I mean, even Gary Vee, for example, he said, I think Gary Vee was at his grind for like a decade, but nobody ever talks about that. They talk about Gary Vee, VeeFriends, NFTs, and this dude who's worth, I don't even know how much he's worth, hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. I mean, Patrick Bet David I think he sold, I forgot what his insurance agency is called, but I heard that he sold it for like 250 million. Like, nobody's talking about the fact that he was out there, because I've seen his interviews. He's talked about kind of his lower periods of time when him and his wife.
Honestly, like all these big guys, honestly, all of them, they all were like on drugs, in jail, like
Grant Cardone, like, come on.
Bradley, yeah, like he was on drugs in jail, in and out of jail, has like 6 kids, like.
Yes. And now you're talking about some, like, the people that we look up to. That's such a crazy mindset to think about, like, people who, and again, all this to say that, you're young, whether you're 20, I mean, you could be 20, you could be, I'm 24, you could be 30 years old, you could be 35, shit, you could even be 40, dude. And let's just say for the next 10 years that you put in consistently, let's just say 10 years. This is very, very extreme as of kind of what the world looks like now. But let's just say 10 years, right? The next 10 years, nothing happened, or you just some slight, success, a little bit, a lot of failure over the next decade. But after that decade's up, let's just say when I'm 34, right? Then shit pops off for me and I start making millions of dollars, whatever, right? Let's just say 10 million a year, whatever. Who cares about the first 10 years? Now I'm 35 making $10 million a year when the average person retires at 60. Come on, dude. What's that? Come on.
And
like,
so many people in the corporate business, they get to this level, they get to the top, and they're at the top for 25 years. And what's their raise?
Garbage. I can tell you that.
I can tell you. What's the retirement?
Yeah. And that's another thing. People ain't even, companies aren't even doing retirement anymore, like pensions and stuff like that. At least a lot of them, I should say. They're like, hey, you're on your own. So I know you got to get running, Summer, so I don't want to hold you up too long. But I do appreciate you hopping on today. If there's anything that you want to leave with the listeners, you really want them to take away from this episode, or really just, ingrain into their mindset, what would, like, a couple things, one thing in particular, what would that be?
Yeah, so I would just say ultimately just stick to what you want to do in life. Obviously, this whole podcast has been about like your vision. So continue dreaming, put in the work each and every day. Don't start slacking. You're going to have failures, what we talked about. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest people who succeed in life are the people who don't quit. So just keep going and it'll all work out.
There you go. Hey, y'all have it, man. Hey, man, go ahead and drop some comments, drop some likes across whatever platform y'all see this on. I know that it's been a while since we had a guest, but I had to bring some fire back to y'all for the first guest back on the new season 3. So I appreciate all y'all listening. Of course, make sure to follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Y'all know where we at. Y'all can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. I think we're on Pandora and iHeart too. Y'all know where to find us. Yeah. Hey, man, well, I appreciate y'all for listening. Of course, if y'all have any recommendations, guest recommendations, go ahead and shoot me a DM, and we will see y'all next week.
Thanks for having me.